This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
First News Binghamton, News Radio 1290 WNBF.
Cue the talent.
WNBF.
Who?
Bob Joseph.
Oh, him. Hey, everybody. Let's do this. Let's do this on a Friday morning. It is August 16th, 2024. As we hit the air, we say everything is fine. Everything is fine and dandy. So if you have something to contribute, we're here till noon. Remember, this program will not be aired Saturday or Sunday due to operational requirements. However, we will do the best to accommodate you today, and we're looking forward to having a lot of conversations, a lot. Hope you're not concerned by all the fog in the area. A little foggy. Otherwise, a pleasant mid-August morning in the Binghamton area. You seem to be off to a nice start. Starting to get a little humid. These few days were very, very comfortable, very low humidity. So that was very much appreciated, especially compared to last week. I don't even want to remember last week. I'm sure some people are even less happy about what happened last week, but at any rate, this week was a nice change from all the active weather we experienced over the previous week. This weekend, it's going to be a little wet. But don't worry, it won't be a washout. Air quality is, I guess it's a little tainted because of smoke from Canadian wildfires. Our air quality index, which for the last several days had been very low, has popped up to 61. So that's moderate and seems to be stuff from the wildfires. Still nothing at all similar to what we experienced in June of last year. Take a look at WNBF.com. Sorry, I just had to laugh. WNBF.com. 2 arrested for trespassing at condemned IBM Endicott buildings. At some point, the state will give approval for the demolition. This is it's a slow motion process, it seems. And so we and others, Endicott officials and the people who own Huron campus, have been waiting now for years to be able to tear down the old IBM buildings along North Street between McKinley and Hayes Avenues. So at some point, you could have a whole swath, that entire block on the north side of North Street could become viable for future projects, but nothing can be done until the old buildings are removed. State agency that reviews these things has wanted more and more information. The Division for Historic Preservation. So that's their job. So apparently they do take their job seriously, and I guess that's a good thing. It's just unfortunate for those who are looking to see some progress there. It's unfortunate this is taking longer than anticipated. If you want to see some additional pictures, actually a video, there was some activity when I stopped by there Thursday. There's a bit of activity near the old buildings, really unclear what was going on, but there were workers up to something near those old buildings that eventually, I'm convinced eventually they will come down. We believe they will come down. 2024, 2030, 2050, who knows? I'll keep you posted. So that's at WNBF.com with all the relevant information. We also have information about the announcement that was made Thursday, of all places, at a former Philadelphia sales parking lot. Yes, I relived some of my childhood memories in that parking lot on Dickinson Street. I had to do some research. I didn't recall. I don't think when we went to Philadelphia Sales, the store that fronted on Clinton Street, 90 Clinton Street, when we went to that store, I don't think we ever had to park in that little bonus lot on Dickinson Street. But I did some research, and Philadelphia Sales bought that property and then tore down a two-family house on that site on Dickinson Street in 1957. So that gave them an extra 30 spaces. So the parking lot they had behind the store on Dickinson Street, they had 200 spaces. Then they bought the property where the news conference was held Thursday afternoon. They bought that so they could add more parking spaces. So Mayor Cram is talking about making some zoning changes and trying to make things better for the development of housing projects in Binghamton.
We're here at 5660 Dickinson Street. This is a vacant city-owned lot here in the First Ward, and kind of indicative of the type of vacant lot that we'd like to see housing development on. So today I announced a series of reforms to the city of Binghamton's zoning law. It's really a limiting of restrictions, it's a cutting of red tape, and it's a pro-housing development reform to the city's zoning legislation. Obviously, we're doing everything we can to advocate for the city of Binghamton to get more state and federal resources as it relates to low-income housing tax credits, subsidies, other grants to build housing in Binghamton, and that's very critical. But at the same time, we have to take steps at the local level to make sure that we remove any barriers possible for the development of new housing. And the initiative and the zoning changes really have four key areas. The first one is to eliminate all parking requirements as part of projects that are affordable or senior housing. A lot of times, these projects have tenants that do not own a car, and sites that could be built for housing, we're having to spend a lot of that land on parking requirements. And so on the cutting edge of planning throughout the country, we're removing the parking requirements for affordable housing and senior-style housing. Secondly, we're allowing the Planning Commission the authority to waive up to 75% of parking requirements for all developments. This will make it cheaper for people to build new businesses, new services, as well as new housing types of all kind, driving down costs, allowing for better stormwater management, and opening up more space on these city lots to be used for housing or for those businesses and not just surface level parking. The third thing we're doing is we're streamlining and making clear as it relates to development of townhouses and condos. And that's really applicable on a site like this. This type of site could really see the development of attached townhouses. This type of development is very popular with young professionals, very popular with seniors, and really residents of all ages. So we want to make it easier for multiple townhouse developments to be on the same lot, making it easier to put in a little bit more density in commercial areas and multi-unit residential areas, and not have these old-fashioned zoning regulations as it relates to townhouses and condos.
That was Binghamton Mayor Jared Cram speaking at 60 Dickinson Street. Yes, it was a former parking lot for the legendary Philly Sales, or as some people insisted on calling it, Philly Dillies, with their slightly irregular popcorn. It's 9:20, WNBF, WNBF.com. Of course, politics. I know you're saying, but Bob, it's Friday. Don't talk about the presidential campaign. And I'm saying, well, of course we're going to talk about the presidential campaign. As they say, this is the most important election in the history of the world. So how can you ignore that elephant in the room? So we will inevitably, between now and noon, talk about the presidential campaign. We'll talk about some local things. Essentially, it's in the hands of the viewers. If the viewers want to talk about Binghamton zoning regulations or things that could be done to improve the environment for developing new residential projects, if you want to talk about that, you can. Or if you want to talk about people who are unusually sensitive, you could talk about him too. 607-772-1290. This is Binghamton Now, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, and streaming on your free WNBF app. The Binghamton Now, experience it. Okie dokie. So here we go. If you put this in a miniseries or a movie, it wouldn't even get green lighted. If this was part of your script, if you were doing a fictionalized account of a future presidential campaign in the USA, and you tried to get the network executives or Netflix or whoever approves these projects, if you put this in the script of your pilot episode, you would be directed to please leave the building and do not bother us anymore.
I think I'm entitled to personal attacks. I don't have a lot of respect for her. I don't have a lot of respect for her intelligence, and I think she'll be a terrible president. And I think it's very important that we win. And whether the personal attacks are good, bad, I mean, she certainly attacks me personally. She actually called me weird. He's weird.
That was Thursday. Donald Trump hurling personal attacks against Kamala Harris. Some Republican supporters have been begging Mr. Trump to focus on policy, but he is making it clear he will not change his campaign strategy. He will not shy away from personal attacks.
I think I'm entitled to personal attacks. I don't have a lot of respect for her. I don't have a lot of respect for her intelligence.
It's 9:27 at News Radio, WNBF. Meanwhile, focusing on issues, New York Times reports Kamala Harris plans to ban grocery price gouging. That's the headline. So here's the story on the New York Times website in detailing her presidential campaign's economic agenda. Kamala Harris will highlight an argument that blames corporate price gouging for high grocery prices. Well, they do research. I've mentioned this before when it comes to campaigns, any campaign, but especially presidential campaigns. Not much is left to chance. They have done the research, and they have determined that swing voters like to hear this message, that corporate price gouging is responsible for the high prices of soda and potato chips. According to the Times, the message has been embraced by progressive groups, which point to price gouging as a driver of rapid inflation, or at least something that contributes to rapid price increases. And those groups cheered the announcement that Kamala Harris will call for a federal ban on corporate price gouging on groceries in an economic policy speech today. But economists point out this is complicated, and it is. Now, there's no doubt corporate price gouging has been going on. It was going on sometimes, even before the pandemic, but in the aftermath of the pandemic, corporate price gouging has become a bigger factor. So for the people who are really outraged about high prices, high food prices, think about that. Think about some of the companies, and you know them. I'm not going to, at the moment, mention those companies by name, but those companies are having a grand old time. The companies that make your favorite snacks, companies that make some of your other essential food products, and even operators of fast food empires. They know in the last couple of years that they had pricing power, and they used it and abused it. So now, can the government do anything about it? I doubt the government can do much to control prices. Good luck. Good luck. But it does, it tests well among the voters who will probably decide the election this year. So that's why you're likely to hear more about controlling corporate price gouging. It's 9:30 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Bob from Vestal.
All right. Let's see if we can conduct this conversation in the correct way without criticizing anybody. What do you think is the most important issue facing voters this year?
Everything those idiots have done for 4 years.
No, I mean specific issue. That doesn't, I mean, what one issue to you as a man who lives in Vestal, what one issue would be the most important as you decide who you may support this year?
You're talking about price gouging. That's bull.
Why?
This is their policies have caused this, Joe.
Why has Joe Biden's policy or his administration's policies, why have they encouraged corporate America to charge more for the products that we enjoy?
I just left Walmart, and the prices, I can only buy stuff like dollar canned spaghetti and stuff because I cannot afford the stuff that used to be reasonable. And you go on here every day telling these good people that these people are going to do this. Those people are the reason. Don't give me that price gouging crap. When Trump was in there, stuff was... Bob, when are you going to wake up? I can't believe this. Every day. And you're knocking Trump every day, yet personal attacks you don't like. Come on, man, snap out of it.
And how can I do that? How can I possibly snap out of it?
I don't know. With Martin calling and knocking me, tell him I'll steal his coat next winter. Remember when he had his coat stolen, everybody felt sorry for him? 2 weeks later, he's on here bashing everybody.
You know, you might have to be suspended. There's no need.
Good.
All right. You're out. Gone. Gone. He went one step over the line. No listener would support that. No listener would support what was just said. It's 9:33. Morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Selena from Binghamton.
Morning.
Good morning, Bob. Love your show. Love your bumper music.
Oh, it is good.
On the price gouging thing, I'm not going to mention names, but the gas station, 285 Front Street, $7 for a dozen eggs.
Yeah, but they're good eggs.
Yeah, but people can't can't afford it anymore.
Well, just eat one egg a day. If you have one egg a day, that works out to that's pennies a day. That's not
yeah,
bad.
pennies a day, but
Come on. Come on, one egg and one strip of bacon. It's the bacon that's more expensive. It's the bacon.
well, it's $15 for 12 ounces there.
I know. So what I say,
horrible.
so I ran the numbers, so that works out to affordable. The eggs work out to 59 cents per egg. That's not bad.
Well, I was at Walmart day before yesterday driving my truck. You won't believe it. a can of carrots were $1.
Well,
I remember when canned goods were $5 for $1.
oh yeah, but they weren't nearly as good.
No, they're the same, but there's a lot of price gouging going on.
Oh, I agree. I mean, price gouging is a serious problem, and it affects Democrats, Republicans, and especially independents. And remember, it's going to be the independents who make the difference in this year's election.
Yeah, but they're not going to get their tax money. They're not going to get our revenue once we move out.
True.
We're not going to be able to afford this country anymore.
I know. We're all moving to Canada. Right?
Yeah, they all speak French.
Sure. I'll go to Montreal.
Oh, well, I'll go to Nova Scotia.
All right. Well, we'll get a big Binghamton Now bus, and we'll head off to Ontario or Quebec or Nova Scotia. Okay?
I'll visit Niagara Falls on the way.
Yeah. We could do the program. We could do the program from the Canadian side of the border.
I love you, Bob. I love your bumper music.
Hey, have a great weekend.
You too, sweetie. Bye-bye.
It's 9:35 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Bob. This is Michael from Windsor. Happy Friday.
Hey, happy Friday at you, too. What's on your mind?
Thank you. I just wanted to lighten up on the politic thing. This Sunday, we have the Harper on Stance Music Festival at Rec Park, and that's positive. Rain or shine, bring your umbrella.
Yes.
Your chairs.
Yeah, be prepared.
Be prepared. Exactly. And the other thing I'd like to mention is if you have the mayor of Binghamton on, Mayor Cram, I know the dedication to the Rod Serling statue is coming up. They have 120-volt underground street lighting post on both sides. There's nothing wrong with putting a small LED floodlight or spotlight onto the statue. I think the family would love it.
I like the idea. I think I'm looking forward to the statue. We've done a couple of stories about how the statue will look. So that's something to look forward to in about a month.
It really is. They did a wonderful job. The contractor on the foundation, they did a wonderful job.
I know.
So,
I talked to the guys who were working on the foundation. They were with a local construction company, a company based in Owego, and they said they were honored to be able to do that work on the foundation, on the base. They were doing that, I think, about a month and a half ago, and they were
correct.
They were really, really pleased that a local company was selected to do that part of the job, the first part, to get this long-awaited statue, make it a reality.
I agree. I was there too. Somehow I missed him, but I also talked to the contractor, and they did a marvelous job. They really did.
All right. Well, thanks for the reminders. I was just over at Rec Park about 48 minutes ago. So I was just checking out. I was on patrol. In our marked unit. I was in the WNBF marked unit, and everywhere I go, whether it was Vestal or Johnson City or Binghamton, everywhere I go, they're thinking like, uh-oh, Bob Joseph is using the marked unit. What's going on?
Yeah, but you're doing your job.
That's exactly right. That's exactly. I checked half a dozen places today for various things, either things that are going to happen or just to look at where things are going, because some stories will need to be updated. So I was glad to see a Binghamton police officer. He was in his own marked unit. I almost stopped by to say hello to him over on the east side of the park. And then I thought, oh, he's probably just monitoring, or maybe he was doing paperwork, completing reports. So he was.
What's his name? Officer Michael?
Could have been. I didn't actually pull into the lot. I drove by near the school, near Horace Mann School, and I almost stopped by just to say hello. And then I thought, maybe he's in the middle trying to complete a report or something. But anyway, it was good to see him there, and there were a lot of people already enjoying the park at about 8:45 or 8:50 this morning.
Yeah, I left there earlier.
Okay. Well, I was looking for you. I thought I drove by slowly because there were a lot of people at the tennis courts. So they were busy on the tennis courts along Seminary Avenue. So that was nice to see.
Yes, it was. Mostly they're pickleball.
Oh, that's what it is. Yes, pickleballs.
I mean,
I've never had an opportunity to play the pickleball, but one of these days I will.
I'm a tennis player, so
all right.
Look for me on the far east court where the concrete wall is, and that's where I practice.
All right. Well, maybe I'll pop over sometime soon.
That would be nice.
Enjoy your weekend, and hope everybody enjoys the special event on Sunday.
I think that would really be nice for the family. I really do.
Thanks for the reminder.
Okay, Bob. You have a great weekend.
Thank you. It's 940 WNBF. This is a community station. It's a joint effort. So everybody is welcome. 607-772-1290. We talk about the local issues, and I know we talk about the national issues as well. It's amazing. We can multitask at 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com. News Radio WNBF. Let's go to the phones again and take some more Friday morning calls. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning there, Bob. It's Dave from Vestal. How's it going?
It's going well. Thank you.
Good. Hey, I was sitting here this morning enjoying a book, calm, relaxed, cup of coffee. I can't believe, Bob, you don't usually do that. You don't usually jump right into politics like that. You really don't.
Why not? Maybe from now on, that's all I'm going to do. Maybe we'll have one reference to some kind of a local issue at the very end of the program. Maybe between now and November 5th, it's going to be pure politics.
Well, it would be fitting.
Worked for Limbaugh. You can't argue with the success story of Limbaugh, and all he was pure politics. Occasionally, you'd start griping about football and somebody taking a knee, but other than that, I would say 98% or so, 98.6% of Limbaugh's success was because he was focused on politics.
Hey, speaking of taking a knee, I see where Colin Kaepernick was offered a coaching job.
Oh, good.
In the NFL.
I thought he was going to get a coaching job here in Broome County. I thought over at BU.
No, but hey, real quick, Bob, that clip you played of Trump saying that he has no respect for Harris or her intelligence, Bob, he basically was speaking what most of the country's thinking. So there's nothing wrong with that part right there. He has a right.
No, there is something wrong with it. I mean, just because a lot of people think something doesn't mean it's right. No, there's to say what he said about Kamala Harris. And let's just, for those who weren't paying attention, let's listen to what Donald Trump had to say about his esteemed opponent.
I think I'm entitled to personal attacks. I don't have a lot of respect for her. I don't have a lot of respect for her intelligence, and I think she'll be a terrible president. And I think it's very important that we win. And whether the personal attacks are good, bad, I mean, she certainly attacks me personally. She actually called me weird. He's weird.
Is that it?
Well, no. Wait, hold on. Yeah, let's play something else from the big snack of stuff.
Kamala Harris is the candidate of the forces who want to destroy Western civilization, but most particularly Israel and Jewish people.
Is he okay? Let's just ask the question. I know it's sort of a open-ended question, but seriously, is he okay?
He's fine, Bob. He is fine. He is.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I don't have a lot of respect for her. I don't have a lot of respect for her intelligence, and I think she'll be a terrible president.
I mean, where is his focus on the issues that are important to the American people?
He did both, Bob. If you listen to the whole press conference, he did both. And you know what? They keep saying, stay on script, talk about the issues. You know what? You can do both. Talk about the issues and bash her because, boy, does she need it.
I'm not sure that he can talk and chew gum at the same time.
I think that we're hitting a nerve. I think this is a different kind of a race. All we have to do is define our opponent as being a communist or a socialist or somebody that's going to destroy our country.
Why can't he talk about the issues? Talk about gas prices. Talk about food prices. Talk about the border. Talk about the wall that never got built and Mexico never paid for. Talk about the promises he made that he didn't keep during the 4 years he was president. Those are the issues.
Bob, that was perfect. It sounded like me giving this speech. Hey, you know what? Bob, I want to talk real quick about Harris's crowds that she's getting. Isn't it funny? She's got to turn them into concerts. Otherwise, she'd have 200-300 draw like Biden. We have to make it look like we're excited about Harris, and they have concerts, Bob. For her to draw more than Trump, she'd have to have Taylor Swift, maybe even Pink Floyd show up. Do you see what they're doing? They're sitting in the seats screaming and hollering because artists are coming to perform for them, Bob. Not that they're excited to see her. The perception, I mean, you have to be stupid not to see that.
You know, they tell me I should be nice. They want to put me in prison. It's never happened before in the history of our country. I did nothing wrong.
This guy, I mean, listen to him. Listen to him. That bears repeating.
You know, they tell me I should be nice. They want to put me in prison. It's never happened before in the history of our country. I did nothing wrong.
See what I'm saying? He did nothing wrong, except he was convicted of nearly 36 felonies. So he did nothing wrong. So in the history of the world, how many people who've been convicted of 34 felony counts can actually go in front of a crowd of people and say with a straight face, I did nothing wrong? A jury of his peers decided he did at least 34 things wrong.
Are we going to get into the jury and the prosecution of what are they all? They all have in common.
I love the poorly educated.
What?
He does too.
I mean,
too.
What the heck? What does that have to do with the price of tea in candor?
Because they vote too. That's why.
Oh, okay. Well,
we're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to get the energy prices down almost immediately, and we're going to close the border, and we're going to get the crooked ones out, the bad ones out.
Why doesn't he just come up with a speech? Why doesn't he hire a speechwriter and then read the speech off the teleprompter?
Because he wouldn't be original Trump. That's why. Bob, real quick before I go, Gutfeld last night, he says, could you see Trump in an orange jumpsuit?
Yes. Yes, I could.
The system is totally rigged.
Yes, I could.
He would look naked.
I've seen pictures. I've seen pictures, and it must have been done by somebody with a computer, maybe with one of those shop photos. But, yes, I've seen the illustrations, so I know pretty much exactly what it would look like, and it's very, very disturbing. I'm very troubled by the thought at some point, if he doesn't win this election, so this is what it's all about. It's not about the issues. It's not even about the opponent, who he secretly, I think he loves, but he doesn't dare say that publicly for fear of alienating Melania. And you can see that she loves him every time they're together. But the bottom line is, if he doesn't get elected president and he's not in a position to pardon himself January 20th, he might be in a position where he's forced to trade in his $50,000 suits for something which probably costs the federal government, I don't know, $88 when they buy those orange suits in bulk. I don't know. I don't know how much those orange suits cost in bulk.
Will Bob Joseph admit that the judicial system was weaponized against Trump for political reasons? Will he admit that?
No. I would never knowingly lie on this program. I can't. Appreciate your call. Thank you. It's 9:52 WNBF with real conversation from real Americans. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Bob. Scary from the west side. Orange suit would go good with his orange hair. You know, he'd look good there.
He could get a Gucci. Maybe Gucci could design a special suit.
You know, Bob, I wonder if anybody else has, you know, they got these bag drive, the book bag drives, you know, carry your books to school in the bags and stuff like that. I don't know. I get tired of that. You know, it's like, didn't they do that last year and the year before and the year before? I get it that, you know,
it's basically an advertiser driven promotion. It's to give clients an opportunity to get, as they say, mentions on the air. And that's what it's about. I mean, it's more about that than ultimately the campaign. It's all, and I hate to say it's about the money, but
feel good.
Oh, sure.
It's a feel good thing, right?
And it makes
We're
me
helping.
It's supposed to make me feel good that these companies are sponsoring or are supporting this effort, and therefore that means that they're better than their competitors who didn't buy into the to this advertising package.
How about handing out a parenting book, too, that, you know, if you got one last year, take care of it, and you won't need one this year.
Good point.
But, you know, there was a caller that used to call in, Bob, and he would call in and he would talk about the NFL and head injuries and all of that stuff. Ron from the West Side. Great caller. He doesn't call in anymore. But I would love to know how he feels about the NFL now. You've seen them funny-looking helmets, like they got the cushion on the top. They're using them in practice now, and they can use those now in a regular NFL game if they wanted to. Have you seen those like cushions that they put on the helmets?
Nope, I'm not.
You're not a preseason
every
guy.
year. No, I'm not a regular season guy. Every year, I usually watch one game, and it's in February.
Okay, and that's a good time to watch. Yeah, but they came out with these new helmets, you know. So the NFL is trying to make progress towards reducing these concussions and stuff. In fact, they've even come out with 6 different types of helmets besides the cushion ones for specific players. Like they have one for the quarterback. They have more insulation in the back so that, because a lot of times when the quarterbacks get tackled and they get hurt, they go backwards and then they hit their head. So they have more cushioning in there, and you know, so they're making efforts. You know, it's going to be a good season.
They're doing too little, too late. The NFL is.
You think so?
Yeah. No, if the NFL was really committed to the safety of its workers, because this is a workplace safety issue, and too many NFL employees have been very seriously injured over the decades. So, yeah, the NFL finally, reluctantly, is taking some baby steps to improving workplace safety, but there's more to be done. Notice they've never apologized. They've never apologized for all of their employees who were so badly injured on the job. I've never heard any NFL commissioner express any sort of contrition or remorse for so many people who worked. Now, if people working here at WNBF were getting that seriously injured, I would expect that what do they call it, OSHA, and even the state would come in here and say, look, we can't have people getting that badly hurt. You're going to have to change your practices. But somehow the NFL is immune from that sort of thing.
Yeah, they always claim, they say, well, our players are, safety is the utmost of importance.
Blah, blah, blah.
Steps.
Yeah, tiny, teeny baby steps. Hey, I appreciate your call. Hope you have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah, NFL Corporation. Yeah, do more. Do more to protect your workers. It's 9:57. I'm Bob Joseph, live on a Friday morning on WNBF. Bob Joseph reporting for duty, continuing with only the finest quality broadcasting. 607-772-1290. As long as no one gets hurt. It's Friday morning. Let's talk about everything and anything. They have a new campaign in New York State because of cable TV hosts who don't obey the speed limit. It's called, "We Are Now Enforcing the Speed Limit Aggressively." So you may have seen the signs, and some people were saying, "Oh, Bob, what's that all about?" And it apparently has something to do with people who are driving over 100 miles an hour through Tioga County on Sundays. So they have to do something, keep the rest of us safe. It's the innocent people who too often get injured when people are driving too fast and recklessly. Just because they have a nice vehicle and claim they have no idea how fast they're going. And that is why the state police now have to ticket aggressively. They wouldn't have to do it except for a handful of people driving around, ignoring the speed limit. Ooh, I don't know how fast I'm going. Well, look at the speedometer. That's why we put them there. It's 10:13 WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Matt from my garage. I'm doing work in the garage.
Have you hidden a treasure trove of confidential documents next to your Corvette?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I found a whole box of things on fracking-related material.
Oh, yeah, confidential city and state documents that you managed to sneak out of the fourth floor on your last day.
I've got an opportunity for Bob, an entrepreneurial opportunity. I think he's got a great voice, and he should market for people's, so when they wake up in the morning, he goes, set your alarm, and what you hear when you're supposed to wake up is, when are you people going to wake up?
We could sell it as a ringtone for $1.29 a download.
Exactly. And I think he can make a lot of money, and then he can fight the price gougers who are making our prices so high. I mentioned this before, but many countries in Europe have a commission where every year they look at the prices, and then they look at why if there's any price gouging going on. And let's not forget, we had no inflation for many, many years. And quite frankly, I think, I think everybody agrees the pandemic exposed a lot of weaknesses in supply chains, but we came out of this better than any other economy in the world. Doesn't mean people aren't suffering with higher grocery prices and other things, but it's just not, they're finally doing a lot of fact checking on what Donald Trump says. And he talks about how gas prices were really low. Yeah, they went really low during the pandemic because.
Oh, sure. Yeah. At one point, I think they were as low as about $1.85 or something. Yeah. Oh, no, it wasn't quite that low in the pandemic. $2 something during the pandemic. And because so many businesses were shut down and most people had no place to go. A lot of people were hunkering down because they couldn't report to work, so they would get stuff delivered. So, yeah, Matthew, I know you're not an economist, but even you understand the basic premise of supply and demand.
Yes, and that's the thing, as you often mention, and you haven't had the gas buddy on in a while.
Maybe that's what I ought to do. Maybe I ought to invite Patrick DeHaan, the gas buddy, on next week to explain for the people who still don't get it that, he doesn't like to get into politics, but I know if I ask him live on the air next week and a question to the effect, if Donald Trump becomes president on January 20th next year, does that mean gas prices will come down between 50 and 70%? I'll ask a question like that the next time he's on.
Or just ask him, do politicians or anybody who's in office really have an impact, a big impact on the price of gas and oil? That's the only thing I'll say is the companies that made those little stickers with the likeness of Joe Biden that some people were slapping on gas pumps, I admire them because they know how to sell cheaply made junk to people. It probably cost them to make 1,000 stickers. It probably cost them like 4 cents, and then they would sell them for $9.99. I mean, that's the American spirit. That's called entrepreneurship, and I do give them credit for assessing that there's a market for that sort of thing. It turns out there was a report this morning. I didn't hear. I just kind of heard it, but it turns out there was a report on how much money that Donald. Speaking of great grifters, and we know who one of the best ones that ever existed was our former president. He personally made some ridiculous like $300 million on selling the Bible, the Trump Bible, and if that's true, I mean,
well, holy cow! I mean, seriously, I mean, and for a guy, because the only time that I recall him using...
Oh, wait a second. I got to do... Hold on. Okay. He said to make his cut. Okay, go ahead.
I mean, the only time I remember him actually holding a Bible in public was for his photo op during the protest where federal agents physically, I believe, moved protesters so he could have a photo op holding the Bible. And my recollection is he was holding the good book upside down.
Yeah, and the selling of the Bible, actually, he's always doing these things he thinks are going to help him. That actually made some evangelicals decide that they were not going to support him because of monetizing the Bible and putting it next to the Constitution, which we know is not what our country is supposed to be about. We're supposed to have, by our Constitution, a separation of church and state. And, you know, a lot of people are starting to see through it. And you asked the question today, and I think many people are asking it, why doesn't Trump talk about the issues? Because they have no platform. Their platform is, I shouldn't say they have no platform. Their platform is clearly Project 2025. Every paragraph of their platform before it was decided to be shunned by the former president because he knows how crazy it is. And now that people are really reading it and looking at it and seeing excerpts from it, and now they found out those two guys from convinced the guy who was the main architect of the whole thing to do an interview, and they have many interviews of him. They were thinking, the guy that was promoting was thinking they were rich, conservative potential contributors to their society. There's now a whole series of videotapes out there telling exactly what they plan to do. And part of it is the biggest deportation. And if there's any protest, they're going to, use the Insurrection Act to basically go after anybody who's protesting the mass deportation they plan to do. So, and that was all on tape. And some of these tapes are very interesting. I encourage people to look at them. They're available now, and you can see exactly how radical, crazy these people and weird they are.
Lordy, I hope there are tapes.
What's that?
Lordy, I hope there are tapes.
Yeah, there's tapes.
Are you sure, or are they on CD, or are they computer files? Are you sure that there are tapes?
Lordy, I hope there are tapes.
Yeah, I saw the tapes.
Oh, okay. Well, if they're tapes, I know Nixon. Remember, 50 years ago, Milhouse Nixon got in trouble because of the tapes.
Lordy, I hope there are tapes.
I mean, here's the thing. Will we never learn? Because, Matthew, there are always tapes.
Lordy, I hope there are tapes.
Yeah.
There always will be tapes.
I mean, this guy really thought he was talking to potential big-time contributors, and he was telling them how, and he actually said to them, look, Donald Trump is part of this whole thing. He's trying to deny it now because he thought he was talking to people who are going to give him money and their confidence. And he's way supportive of this. He has to back off now, but he's with us. Don't worry about it.
It kind of makes me sad, you know?
Yeah. Okay,
all right.
well,
have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you. It's 10:21 WNBF, the station that really is here to help. No, we really are. If you need help, give us a call. If you need tapes, we got them too. Good morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Paul from West Windsor.
Welcome back, my friend, to the show that never ends, at least till noon. What's up?
Is it all right if I make a prediction?
I don't know. Depends what it's about. I'll ultimately, Paul, I am the sole arbiter of what's okay here on the show.
And I appreciate whatever you think, but my prediction is if Kamala Harris wins, the migrant crisis will be solved.
All right. I'm looking forward to that. After all these years, our long national nightmare finally will end on January 20th.
Aren't you going to ask me why?
No, I trust you. I trust you. What are you going to do this weekend?
What am I going to do?
Yeah, for fun.
Well, I listened to Gutfeld last night. He was a riot. You should listen to him.
Who?
Anyway, my prediction is...
Wait, who did you listen to last night?
Gutfeld.
Oh, Gutfeld. I thought you said Ducktail. I'm saying, who is Ducktail? Gutfeld. Oh, Greg. Greg Gutfeld, he too is a national treasure. And the great thing about him, unlike some of his colleagues, he always drives within the speed limit.
Hey,
he's a good guy. He's a good guy. I may not agree with him on everything, but I think a lot of what he says is funny, and sometimes he really is able to nail it.
Well, if we become more like Venezuela, the migrants will go back.
All right. Well, I'm hopeful. I'm keeping my finger crossed.
That's why I predicted it.
All right. Mark on your calendar January 21st so you could call in and we'll see if it happens.
All right. Gotcha, Bob.
Hey, have a great weekend.
You too.
1023 WNBF. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Fran from Marge from Endicott.
Morning, Marge. How are you?
Good. Hope you're doing good.
I am doing great. This is one of the best weeks we've ever had on the station, and it looks like we're ending on a very positive note. So what's on your mind this morning?
I just tuned in. I don't know if anybody called us, but I do get the WNBF app radio, so I got the news, and they mentioned that a Peruvian gang leader that was charged with 25 murders, I guess in Peru. But they caught him in Mexico, released him, but it doesn't give any information where they caught him in Endicott. The only thing is that now that he's apprehended and he's in Buffalo. Do you have any more information?
Well, I do. I can't tell you now, but I can tell you I expect to have more information this afternoon, and it might surprise you because some of what's being reported is erroneous.
Oh, really?
Yes. So there's a lot more to the story, and I was working on it yesterday afternoon. Unfortunately, what happens is sometimes people move too quickly on a story, and then they don't get it right. So my theory was not to push out a story before I had more information about what was going on here. So, while I waited judiciously to try to get the accurate information, other people went forward with enthusiasm, and it appears to me, based on what I'm being told, that a key premise of the story is totally wrong.
Well, then who in WNBF reported it then?
Well, I see. I didn't write that. You notice I didn't write the story. I only control what I write. So sometimes other stories go up. I don't know if that was based on a news release that had wrong information. I'm just saying what people are telling me. So what I always say is when I do stories, and I'm not saying that my stories are always right, because sometimes it turns out either my sources turn out to be wrong, or on occasion, I admit, sometimes I turn out to be wrong. I'm saying based on what I know now, I think there's more to the story that I'm going to try to put out a news story later today. That's my hope. I can't guarantee it because I am working to find out more information.
Okay.
All right. And again, let me say with the caveat that it may turn out to be 100% accurate, but based on what I was told on Thursday, it looks to me like there needs to be more reporting done.
Okay. Okay.
All right, that's all I can say. Don't worry. I was in Endicott this morning working on a couple of things, so but I don't have enough right now to say on the air what, as Paul Harvey might say, the rest of the story. All right? So stay tuned. If we get sufficient information, then we can move forward. But it's all again with stories like this, who knows? One person can say one thing, or one agency can say something, and you look around the world, suddenly it's on the internet all around the world, and then you say, gee, I hope they got that right. It's 10:28 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Bob. This is John from Binghamton Today, or Binghamton Now. On Binghamton Now.
Yes.
I'd like to talk on your radio program. Is that possible?
It sure is.
Okay. I want to touch on something Matt triggered me a little bit here. New York State lives off the economic engine of New York City. Binghamton, Broome County lives off transfer payments from the state and the federal government. There are 4 people, and 4 people only, and Donald Trump is one of them. Matt Ryan should go down and kiss Donald Trump's feet because he was a public official in the city of Binghamton. The people responsible for the turnaround of New York City, and people maybe don't remember how bad it was in New York City in the late 70s. There are 4 people. One is Donald Trump.
What about Rudy? Rudy?
Well, no, I'm going to give you the 4 people in the order in which they appear.
Oh, okay.
Donald Trump. Then came Andrew Lloyd Webber with Katz. Then came Bill Marriott, who built the Marriott Marquis, and then Rudy Giuliani. So these 4 people were responsible for the tremendous boom in New York City in the middle to late 80s, going all the way up through the 90s. Without Donald Trump, who started the ball rolling and proved that it could be done with the Commodore Hotel and later the Trump Tower, Bill Marriott would not have gone near Times Square in New York. It was Trump that took the stigma out of New York City. And it was Lloyd Webber who created this great destination Broadway show that struck a nerve, and then, of course, Phantom of the Opera. But without those four people, New York City would be completely what it was, a cesspool, and where it is right now. So Matt Ryan should thank Donald Trump for doing everything for the state of New York that he did. Forget about the presidency right now. Let's talk about this great New Yorker, this guy that really turned a dire situation around with his money, with $2 million that he borrowed from the thing. He has tremendous accomplishments in New York. He's not. You have to go back to Zeckendorf or Tisch to achieve his track record.
All right. Well, I will give. How can I put this? I will give Donald Trump credit for some things he did back in the day, but I also will say there were some things he did back in the day that, how can I say this, weren't necessarily good. There were some things that he did or said he was going to do that he didn't follow through on, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I know what you mean.
Okay, and again, I'm trying to be judicious with what I say, because yes, he did some positive things, but there were also some things that sadly never came to fruition that he said would happen. So, again, you know me, John. I strive for fairness.
I know you're fair, Bob, and I've never questioned that. But I just want to say one other thing, the obvious. Anybody that would consider Kamala Harris as president of the United States, and believe me, she makes Kathy Hochul look like Caltech material. Anybody
Whoa! Well, now I know. Well, anyway, I mean, I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah. So there is no choice but Donald Trump. There is no choice, and he's not going to feel bad if he loses. It's going to be for whatever reason. He's not going to feel bad because he's dead right. There is going to be no country after these people are finished. But the good news is they'll never be finished. So yes, to your point, and maybe to his point, maybe there would be no country after they get finished, but I take consolation from the fact that once they get started, they're not going to be able to finish because they won't be allowed to finish what they might want to do. They'll be able to make some changes, but they're never, trust me, John, on this, they will never get to the point where they can truly wreck this country. Can they make changes in policy for 4 years or 8 years? They can try. And the other thing, though, I would point out, even if President Harris had a Democratic-controlled Congress, both Democrats controlling the Senate and the House, the way the Democrats operate, we saw the way the Democrats operated, I think it was during President Obama's first term. They can't get it right. Well, no, let me strike that from the record. They can't coordinate things among themselves, even if they have a general idea of what they want to do, even if ultimately their theory is we want to wreck the country. They don't have the capability of all getting on the same page to pass the things that they say they would like to do. Well, hopefully, Bob, the Democrats will have a disaster, another 1968 convention. Well, that's another thing that
as we look forward with either enthusiasm or trepidation about what's going to happen in Chicago, my concern is outside agitators are going to do their best to try to replicate the mayhem that happened in the streets. Who knows? That guy from the insurance company, Johnny Mayhem, is probably already in Chicago setting up demonstrations and getting set to break windows. So the optics will look bad. And you know how the media, the liberal media, can't help but be transfixed by acts of violence, even if it has nothing to do with the convention, just a bunch of mayhem makers. And maybe they're Democrats, maybe they're Republicans, maybe they're illegal immigrants. Who knows? Maybe they're people from Binghamton. The media doesn't care as long as they're smashing windows and setting things on fire.
One more. Let me wrap it up with this point. Letitia James.
Oh, Tish.
How many other people has she prosecuted for exaggerated financial statements? How many other cases are going right now?
Say close to zero.
There you go.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I mean, but one thing, you don't have to like what Letitia James did with respect to Donald Trump. I would say, to her credit, during the election, I think she was pretty honest with what she intended to do. I don't think this came as a surprise after the people of New York elected Tish James to be Attorney General. I think, didn't she say this basically in her campaign?
Yes, she did. And the Attorney General, and this is another thing about, corporations paying more taxes. You're forgetting, people are forgetting about the tremendous fines that the federal government, if you include fines, then these corporations are paying record levels of revenue into the government. And I would also remind you that fines are tax deductible for corporations. So all these settlements you hear, no thanks to Letitia James, by the way, because Letitia James, to my knowledge, hasn't gotten 10 cents back in any type of class action for consumers. So she can go after Trump all she wants. But why isn't she representing the tens of millions of people in New York that are being abused by these corporate interests? Donald Trump has settled up on his cases, but there's other cases out there that are much more severe than Donald Trump's university.
Appreciate your call. Hope you have a great weekend.
Yep.
It's 10:38, Serving America. And because of that, we'll give the time for other time zones. For our listeners in Chicago, it's 9:38. For our listener in Colorado Springs, it's 8:38. And for our vast audience in Pacific Palisades, it's 7:38. This is Bob Joseph, serving Binghamton and beyond here at News Radio WNBF. The job fair, the Town Square Media Job Fair, is just around the corner. Yes, the next job fair is going to take place next week. Yeah, get yourself in your car or pickup truck and head over to the job fair on Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Broome County Regional Farmers Market, Upper Front Street in the town of Dickinson. It's a chance to connect with the local businesses who are actually ready to hire. So get your resume ready, put on your best seersucker suit, and seize the opportunity. It's the job fair, Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And among those participating in the Town Square Media Job Fair next Wednesday, BU Dining Service, Racker, and Guthrie Clinic. If you want more information about the next job fair, go to WNBF.com and click on the tab in the upper left corner of the home page where it says job fair. It's 10:39, live and local. Bob Joseph on your Friday morning. This is Binghamton Now. At 10:42, we return to the phones and we look toward Tompkins County. Joe from Greater Ithaca, you're on the air.
Yes, let's speak about inflation. Everybody else is talking about that. I'm going to go back a few steps. The minimum wage, I looked that up, started in 1960 at $1 an hour. Before that, I guess there was none. We talk about gasoline being 25 cents a gallon or something. It's all proportional. And like you say, we had no inflation for a while. And also, as far as like the prices go, now somebody can afford it. I mean, somebody's spending the money here. You look at the airlines are full. The people are traveling, doing things. And that's part of why we have the higher prices. A lot of people are paying the price without hesitation. And of course, someone's saying, well, geez, you got to pay $1 for a can of corn or something like that. But there's a lot of help available. I mean, if you qualify, you really have a lot of things, credits and things on your electric bill, and you name it. If you don't qualify, still there's food giveaways, at least around here, and I'm sure it's in the Binghamton area too. And you don't have to, no qualifications, just go and get it. I had a guy working for me, and he has a truck, and he came by, and his truck had a lot of food in it. And he said, well, he would go and volunteer and pick up a full truckload and take it somewhere where they distribute it and give it to people. And he'd be there, and there was stuff left over. Nobody would come and take it. So he come by, and he says, here, take this, take that. And I had a $30 cake. It was bent on one side, but it was very well done and good. I still have a pound of butter in my freezer that they gave me and a few other things. So I'm saying if you really are hurting, well, most people know that. There's a lot to be had there. I know they have the farmers market here, and if you qualify, they give you so much credit for a certain amount of food, everything. So
it's true. So people shouldn't worry, man.
Well,
stop worrying, man. That's what I say.
Yeah. It's really there's plenty to be had here with it, and we'll get through it. The inflation. Like say we had. As far as people on fixed income, if you have Social Security, you get a cost of living depending on what the inflation is. 1 year we had nothing because the inflation was zero. We're complaining about that. But of course, I have Social Security, but I have a pension, and that hasn't gone up since I started it in 2001. So that's fixed. But at least if you got Social Security, at least you got something every year. And of course,
sure.
You got Medicare. You're all set. So.
Well, I heard. What's his name? I don't want to use his name at the moment because of some of our more sensitive viewers. But the one guy said something about equating communism, and that means we'll all have health care. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with someone who's running for president of the greatest country in the world making it sound like it's a bad idea that we all have health care in this country? I mean, he was making it sound like having health care in this country is not something we should aspire to. It's something that is good for billionaires and their supporters and Republicans, but for Democrats or independents or socialists, they shouldn't be able to get health care. And I'm thinking, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, come on. What kind of a person makes it sound like access to health care in America is bad? You would think it would be good, something we would want to strive for, right?
Yeah, I can't avoid socialism. I just go out my driveway, right away I hit it, because there's a brand new paved road all the way down, up and down the road, and they just put the new stripes on yesterday, which I'm glad of that, because it helps me see in the dark, with that.
Yeah. Let me, thanks to the Fox News channels, I had to look this up on Twitter, but somebody posted this thing from the Fox News channels about what the Republican candidate for president had to say about health care, about the concept of everybody getting health care in America. Let's listen carefully. And if you're driving, you might want to pull over for safety.
And you're not going to be allowed. You're all going to be thrown into a communist system. It's a communist system. You're going to be thrown into a system where everybody gets health care.
I didn't make that up. That's from the Fox News channel.
Well, our military is socialism. If it wasn't, we'd hire mercenaries.
Right, but again, to the bigger point, what is wrong with everybody having health care?
Well, they do now. It's called the emergency room.
Yeah,
You know,
and the
they
emergency room is overrun. Even the new emergency room in Johnson City. They don't have enough capacity to handle all the people who are using the emergency room inappropriately.
And you're not going to be allowed. You're all going to be thrown into a communist system. It's a communist system. You're going to be thrown into a system where everybody gets health care.
I would love to be thrown into a system in the USA today where everybody gets health care. That's not called a communist system. It's called a system that helps each person, all 333 million Americans, to have access to health care. That should be a basic right.
What's absurd is if you're 65, you'll get a heart transplant, whatever you need, no matter how expensive, it's taken care of. If you're 35 and you need a hernia operation, you won't get it. You know,
I love our healthcare providers, but I think even though America has some of the best and brightest people in the world of medicine, I still think the system needs to be fixed. So we get to something where we don't have some guy who suggests that it's somehow a bad thing for everybody to get health care.
Well, you know, it's like having a 56 Buick and putting a new engine in it, and then having a 3-year-old car and you can't afford to change the water pump. You know, I was saying the young people that are, as you get older, you need more and more. We sure ought to be able to take care of the younger people because they don't need as much.
Exactly. It's my point exactly. I'm sorry, I'm talking through gritted teeth. Anyway, I'm just doing that for comedic effect.
The gnashing.
Yes, the gnashing of teeth, as heard on the radio.
Gnashing of teeth. You know, I made a remark the other day. I didn't without thinking, and I said the guy, his teeth. You know, he had problems with his teeth, and I said his teeth are upside down.
Oh, harsh. I represent that, and I hope you have a good weekend.
It was still funny, though.
Well, it was funny, but it was mean.
Well, it
was unnecessary, Joe. Come on, man. He's doing the best he can.
It was just one of those crazy when you twist words
I know.
like that. And nobody. It was so absurd, you know, that it's funny.
I know, and I know you didn't mean it maliciously.
Well, right. You know,
maybe you did.
I was complimenting. I was telling. Well, you know what it was? I was talking about this guy. And I say he's a good-looking guy, and he was telling how the kind of work he did, and a story about it, you know. And you say somebody about teeth, you know. What's another thing? We ought to have dental care, for Christ's sake.
Well, you know, but that would be communist. That'd be a communist system, according to some. Thank you for your call. It's 10:50. WNBF Live with the amazing Bob Joseph. More calls are coming right up. 92.1 FM, 1290 AM. Remember, stay connected using the free WNBF app. Returning to the busy phone lines, Joan in Binghamton, you're on the air.
Oh, thank you. The only question I have, not the only question, but one of them is people, lots of complaints about VA hospitals and, you know, that kind of thing, and that's basically government run, right? I mean, that's government health care.
Sure. Well,
it's
it's not run by Pfizer, that's for sure.
No, so then that means that's what we have to look forward to?
No, not necessarily, but if you're against every American having health care, I guess that would be one argument to attempt to use. If you're not in favor of all Americans having health care, I agree. That would be something that people who don't think health care should be a right in this country might touch on.
Well, every American has health care. I mean, if you show up at a emergency room, or I remember, what was it, yesterday? What was it, on Kennedy or somebody? They were talking to a doctor, and he ended up taking care of an illegal for 5 years, basically ended up for 5 years in the hospital.
All right. Well, then I guess it's okay. Appreciate your call.
We were.
What happened?
Well, apparently he called in or was being interviewed, and he had been taking care of an illegal for 5 years, and 5 years in the hospital.
Yeah, and so what's wrong with that?
Americans can have full health care. Apparently, I mean, everybody in the U.S. apparently has, I don't know how you want to put it, some form of health care.
Well, that's not true. I don't know the circumstances you're describing, but to say everybody in this country has access to appropriate health care is hardly accurate.
Well, you're not turned away at the door, are you? I mean,
well, you know, someday we'll talk about that. We don't have time to get into something so complicated, but there is no simple response to that. So we'll talk about that next week.
Okay.
Thanks. 10:55, WNBF, Howard and Vestal, you're on the air.
Do you want to answer about...
Hello, Howard.
Hi. I'm calling because I listened to what you said about Donald Trump, and I'm a little upset because you're distorting. He did say what you said, and you played what Fox did, but you're distorting it by leaving out the context. He was not talking about no one having health care. He was talking about mandatory federal single-payer health care, because that's what Kamala has committed to in the past. Whether she continues committing to it or not, I can't tell you. But in the past, she said she wanted single-payer health care, which means no private insurance, no private health care. Now, I'm not disputing that some people do not get adequate health care. I'm in the healthcare business, so I do see and I know exactly what your concerns are. But it's not fair. It's not right to distort it to say he doesn't want anyone to have health care right. There's a Medicaid system, there's a Medicare system. Those are both socialized health care. They're available to anyone who qualifies. There are people who are uninsured, but if they want to, they can apply through the state systems that exist in almost every state now. If their incomes are insufficient, they'll be subsidized. That's part of Obamacare. But the idea that you want to eliminate all private insurance, no, this is wrong. Because have you traveled to countries in Europe, you would see the difference between private insurance, private health care, and public health care. There is a difference. I'm not telling you that everything is good, perfect, it should be. I'm just asking you not to distort for purposes. Look, I know you don't like Donald Trump.
Well, it's not a question. By the way, I'm out of time, though. I appreciate your call. Yeah,
right,
thank you. Yep, we've got the news coming on and then another hour of calls. I want to hear from you next hour here on WNBF. Joined now by Endicott Police Chief Patrick Gary. Good morning, Chief Gary.
Good morning, Bob. How are you?
I am well. Thanks for joining us this morning, because I think it's important for people to get some additional information and clarification about the story involving a high-profile arrest that's in the news, not just here in the Binghamton area, but even beyond.
Sure.
So it has been now widely reported that 38-year-old Gianfranco Torres Navarro was arrested on Wednesday, and he is, according to the reports from ICE, the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, he's being held at a federal detention facility near Buffalo pending an immigration hearing. And according to these accounts, he is wanted for 23 killings in Peru.
Yes, that is correct.
So it's interesting to me that the reports have said that Gianfranco Torres Navarro was arrested in Endicott, when in fact, that's not the case.
That is correct. That is not the case. He was actually arrested in Vestal, my understanding, although I was not there and no Endicott police officers were there, so I'm just speaking to what I've heard reported, through law enforcement contacts, but my understanding is he was arrested at the Town Square Mall in Vestal.
In front of the Burlington store on Wednesday evening.
Correct. That is my understanding.
So I just find it fascinating. I don't know exactly how this happened or why it happened, if it was just whoever put out the news information from ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement operation, how they got the information that he was taken into custody in Endicott when in fact it was across the river at a shopping center in Vestal.
Yeah, well, I think what happened is, and certainly I can't really speak to any of this with any certainty, but I think what happened is that he was living in Endicott, and because of that, somewhere along the line, someone in ICE got the incorrect information in the press release and put that he was arrested in Endicott when, in fact, he was living here, not arrested here.
Were you aware that he was in the village of Endicott and actually apparently in Endicott for an extended period of time?
We are aware, hindsight 2020, that he was in Endicott for a couple of months. We were made aware of this probably, I'm going to guess, maybe about a week before the arrest on Wednesday night. We had heard through some other law enforcement sources that might be the case, and so we reached out to ICE to find out about it and, look into it and try to determine what we needed to do on our end with regard to it.
Did the village police department wind up providing some information to ICE or other federal officials that may have helped in the apprehension of Mr. Torres Navarro on Wednesday evening?
I'm not going to say that anything we did assisted in the apprehension of him, because obviously they were aware of him prior to us being aware of him and at least who he was. But we certainly, exchanged information on a law enforcement end in terms of, what would keep officers safe from our end and from their end, with regard to any arrest that they made. I can't really get into specifics of what we shared, but, the idea is to make sure that our federal law enforcement officers were safe in their execution of anything that they were doing with regard to an arrest. And so we, would provide any of that information to make sure of that.
Is it your understanding then he was taken into custody Wednesday night at Town Square Mall without incident, as they say, where no officers were injured and nobody was hurt?
Yes, that is my understanding. It was without incident.
He's described as a reputed Peruvian gang leader, suspected in nearly 24 killings. What else do you know about this person's background?
I only know what I read in news media reports and on Google.
So evidently he was staying in a single-family home on East Franklin Street in Endicott for at least several weeks. Did your officers or detectives know that a reputed Peruvian gang leader was living in the village?
Well, like I say, we became aware of it at some point, prior to the arrest, and certainly put out information to our officers to keep them safe, things like that.
Prior to learning about the guy's background, had your officers had any encounters, any interactions with Gianfranco Torres Navarro?
We did have at least one incident that involved him.
Was that a call for service or was it a traffic stop? What was the nature?
Call for service, and there were no issues that occurred during it.
Well, who called? Did he call?
I can't really get into that part of it. I mean, it's something that, with regard to victim, things like that, it was a dispute that was at the residence. That's about what I can get into.
It seemed to be some sort of domestic dispute?
It was a dispute. I'll leave it at that.
How did he wind up in Endicott? Do you know why he wound up on East Franklin Street?
I do not know. I have no idea why. I will tell you through some of my Homeland Security contacts and some information that my understanding is that when somebody is arrested at the border for entering the country illegally, that they are then given, I guess, for lack of a better term, maybe like an appearance ticket type thing to appear in immigration court at a later date, and then they're asked where they want to go in the country and are transported there. I don't know the truth of that. That is sort of through the grapevine what I'm hearing from some law enforcement contacts, but I don't know that anybody that I'm hearing that from has that firsthand information. So I don't necessarily want to start that as a rumor or an issue, but it seems that they're sort of requested as to where they want to go in the country, and then they have to appear at a later time.
And the news reports indicate exactly 3 months ago today, on May 16th, he entered the United States illegally at the Texas-Mexico border. And according to these accounts, and again, we take all these accounts with a grain of salt because they're not always accurate. So we found out with the report of where he was arrested. But it says he was arrested May 16th and given a notice to appear for immigration proceedings. And it makes you wonder exactly then what goes on, how many other people who might enter the U.S. illegally, whether it's at the Mexican or Canadian border, wind up around our communities, and we don't know who's living next door, and law enforcement officers may not even know who's living in the community.
Well, that's absolutely correct, and the information that you just got, much of that I got exactly from where you did, which is the press release and news reports that he was picked up at the border. So, some of this is just anecdotal information that I have. Again, I'm, a little bit cautious in how firm I'm saying any of it, but this is kind of the stuff I hear. But, quite frankly, as the chief of police, it does get to me a little bit, I guess. Hear my guys deal with this subject during a dispute, who is clearly a dangerous subject, and who my understanding is, again, through the news reports, that it was a law enforcement officer was killed by him down in Peru, if I read that correctly. So here my guys are dealing with him on a dispute, and we have no idea he's in the area for months. Like I said, until about a week before this arrest occurred. To me, and again, I don't, certainly not faulting my law enforcement partners in ICE because I don't know what they knew about this subject or when they knew it. I'm not sure I'm ever going to know that. But, to me, that's information that has to be transmitted to local agencies to keep police officers safe, to keep citizens safe, so that we can report back to federal authorities when there are things that need to be reported back. I mean, all of that kind of stuff that, just makes sense. I don't, somewhere the system broke here. I don't know where.
It's disconcerting to think somebody on East Franklin Street in Endicott or Court Street in Binghamton could be a person suspected of killing 24 people in Peru or anywhere else, and they're just going about their business. I don't like the thought of that, but I guess that's the reality of our world today.
That certainly seems to be it, and I certainly don't like the thought of it either, especially when my police officers are the ones that are responding to the calls for service that involve these people.
Does he have any relatives in Endicott or this area? To your knowledge?
I don't know that. Yeah, I mean, besides who was arrested at the time of, I don't know any other contacts or anything. I really can't speak about the case itself because I'm speaking out of school a little bit in that, we just know what they told us, which is pretty much what's in the news reports.
At this point, is there any reason to believe that this person had any involvement in any local violent crimes or any area gang activity?
No, zero, evidence or information that he was related to anything occurring in this area.
Is there anything else we should know that's relevant about this specific case?
No, not really. I mean, other than, media should really follow up with ICE to get the correct information, because, like I say, he was 100% not arrested in the village of Endicott.
And you as police chief, I would think, might be a little bit concerned about that. I don't know, in the grand scheme of things, the fact that he was living evidently on East Franklin Street in Endicott for a few months after he came into the U.S. illegally, that's one thing. But again, just the fact that the place where he was taken into custody was outside the village, at least from a factual standpoint. I guess that would be a concern to you, and I would think even to people in Endicott, just that the record be made clear.
Yeah, correct. I mean, clearly, we have no control of who moves into the village or why they move into the village. But these police officers here, the men and women here, work very hard keeping people safe. We have a year after year record of lower and lower crime, and especially violent and property crimes. Clearly we're a semi-urban area here, and we do have occasional things that happen, like the recent shootings that occurred. But we work hard to keep the community safe. So I certainly want, correct reporting. We own what we own and work to improve every day. But at the same time, I certainly want correct reporting as to what's going on. I don't love seeing Endicott plastered all over national news in a negative light by any means, especially when the community is in a revival mode to me. So it does get you a little bit, especially when you look at the fact that he has been in town for this long, and we weren't alerted to it.
Endicott Police Chief Patrick Gary on our Friday program, joining us live. Thank you very much for the additional information about this case.
You're very welcome. Thanks. Have a great day.
You too. WNBF at 11:25. This is Binghamton Now with Bob Joseph. What's your number? Don't tell me. I'll give you my number. 607-772-1290. Yeah, you're allowed to call in. Go ahead. Talk. We're here till noon. We still have time for you. 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, online at WNBF.com. So we go back to the phones. Aaron in Binghamton, you're on the air. Yeah, let's go to Owego. Paul in Owego, you're on the air.
Yeah, Bob, good morning. How we doing?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking.
Well, I got good news for you, Bob. Old Paul pled guilty to a parking ticket.
The case of the century in the village of Owego. So it's been resolved?
Yeah, Bob. I had to plead guilty to something, so I decided a parking ticket would subsist. And what's really comical about it, Bob, is the Owego police did a real bang-up information when it came to trying to put the meat to Paul. It didn't happen. I got the video from the bus garage. The Strawberry police did a lousy job. They gave those clowns a police radio, and it went to their heads. Now,
all right. Well, I mean, the bottom line is, in the end, justice has been served, correct?
No, $2,500 worth of damage to my wife's Volvo car.
Yeah, are they going to pay for it?
We're gonna. Oh, the Owego police kind of dropping the ball again, Bob. I got to move out of this state because they really tried to crucify me.
All right. Well, I'm glad that at least this chapter is over. I appreciate the update. Yes, I know that's been a saga. It's complicated. It's one of those things it's hard to really address on the radio, but at least this chapter is wrapped up. We've got more coming up on our Friday program. Don't worry, it's not over yet. This is Binghamton Now on WNBF. Binghamton Now moving forward as we look toward the weekend with enthusiasm. Joining us now on our program. Dan Wahila, president of the Triple City Soccer Officials Association. And good morning, Dan. Welcome to Binghamton Now.
Good morning, Bob.
And thanks for joining us this morning. I was advised that there is a special event going on tomorrow. A Section 4 Officials Recruitment Day is going on in Johnson City tomorrow. And it seems that it's a good idea to help spread the word. So I got in touch with you, and you can tell our listeners a little bit about this special event, and if they're interested, what they can do and where they can go tomorrow.
Okay, tomorrow is a Section 4 Officials Recruitment Day. It's something new we're trying to get new officials and refereeing for all sports. There's an incredible shortage of officials in the area right now, and we need some new people to help come on and officiate. It's being held from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Dick's House of Sport. Every sport has got like a half-hour break, and some of it's going to be inside, some of it's going to be outside. A lot of it's going to be outside on the field. I'll give you a breakdown. For field hockey, it's going to be from 11 to 11:30. Football and flag football from 11:45 to 12:15. Baseball and softball from 12:30 to 1. Soccer is from 1:15 to 1:45. Lacrosse from 2 to 2:30. And basketball 2:45 to 3:15. And volleyball from 3:30 to 4. Also, wrestling and track and field recruitment will be going on inside. And you can come from multiple sports. A lot of the officials officiating now or do multiple sports. Good way to keep in shape, good way to make a little extra money, and good way to meet different people and stuff.
And how long have you been involved in officiating?
I've been reffing for 45 plus years.
Well, it's a great service.
Right out of college.
Okay, well, that's a great service to the community, and I know I've talked with people in the past how it has been difficult to get enough people to do this, and I think it's important that if people have ever thought about doing it, that they take advantage of this opportunity tomorrow in Johnson City.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. There's a lot of camaraderie with people. I mean, we had over 100 officials in the soccer chapter not too long ago, and we're down now in the 40, 50 area. So it's being more and more difficult to cover all the local games.
I see from the item that Kevin Stevens wrote for the newspaper, PressConnects.com, the Section 4 executive director said the mission is to try to get some younger blood to step up and help with officiating around here.
Absolutely. And male, female, I don't care. We need anybody. If you're available, even if you're not available every day of the week, if you're available even a couple days a week, that's fine. If you just want to get your feet wet doing a couple days a week, we'll work with you. We'll give you information tomorrow. We have meetings. We'll do training. I mean, high school sports are going to get going here in about 2 or 3 weeks. So
yeah,
we need all the bodies we can get.
And if people can't make it to the event tomorrow at Dick's House of Sport at Oakdale Commons in Johnson City, is there any other way that they can get some information and try to get the ball rolling?
They can call the Section 4 office, or they can contact me. They can contact me directly. I'll give you my number. It's 607-341-1912.
All right. Well, Dan, thank you very much for joining us and helping to get the word out about the special event tomorrow. And I hope some of our listeners who may have thought about this in the past will stop by during that opportunity tomorrow, or perhaps get in touch with you and help out the community while also doing something that I think sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's pretty good money, too. So,
well, can't complain about that.
No, and it helps keep you in shape. Everybody needs to stay in shape.
Absolutely. Well, Dan Wahila, thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you have a great day tomorrow and enjoy your entire weekend.
Okay, thanks, Bob, for helping spread the word.
You're welcome. It's 11:40, WNBF Live. Let's take some more calls for those who wish to speak. Number is 607-772-1290. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Bob. Good morning. This is Vinny from Binghamton.
Hey.
Yeah. You know, Bob, one of the things I love about living in this century or this year, 2024, is there's so much information out there for people to gather that a lot of times you miss in the news. And one of them is there's a nice article in the Los Angeles Times by Wayne Cornelius. And it's, of course, it's his opinion. Trump and other Republicans call Kamala Harris a failed border czar. Here's the truth. And basically what this thing does is it goes down how she's been negotiating with diplomacy with some of these southern bordered countries. And it's like, why don't we know this in the news? In other words, let's take you've got a basement and it leaks, Bob. You got this leak. So they come in and say, well, Bob, listen, I could put a cork in here, but I got to go outside and dig along the foundation and seal it up there. Then I can come in and do the cork, get it all set in the inside. That's what's going on with our immigration. These countries, so what she did is she tried finding out, why are these people coming here? She's been negotiating with these people, with diplomacy, to stop it. Because we can do all we want to with the borders. But we've got, but it's not long, it's not going to happen for a long time. Because she said right after what she was working on, it did slow the immigration's coming in. But what happened is, as COVID went down, more people started coming. And then the next thing you know, China and Russia are sending their people, their migrants, in through the border to make it harder. And that was the thing that I hope Kamala Harris brings up in the debates. Because when Donald Trump, you guys, I know you Trumpers don't like it, but when he told them, don't let that border bill happen. We haven't had one since 1990. When he stopped that was that stopgap. That was at least, can we hold them back for a little bit while we negotiate on the other side? This is a two-part thing. This border thing, guys, is complicated more than the average person knows. All we ever see is something like you just heard. This illegal immigrant coming in and robbing a store and stuff. Well, look, we already got that. But how can we do our borders? Because this is like the overfill, the robberies and all that kind of stuff. As disgusting as they are, I mean, we've got our own homegrown, as James said the other day about the guy who got a gun and went up there in Buffalo, okay, and shot all those people. We got our own criminals. But it's interesting to read, and I hope she talks about it, because I'll tell you, this border issue, it's more complicated than people think. And it's not about, we need to get walls and stuff. Guys, it's much more complicated. And we need to look at it and see what we can do to help it. And Bob, I would just like to do an answer to a call or two that's been calling this week. I think my good buddy Dave in Pestle asking about, I just want to hear one person who's for Kamala Harris call in and say one thing of why you like her. I like her because she had 4 years to be by a person's side and talk with night and day about your experience and how to get things done. That's my thing that I like about her. Now, I think Dave should appreciate that, because Dave, you've called in this program many times and you're an election denier. So what difference does it make? You don't even believe the election happened. You think it was wrong. So, that's my thing. I can step up, and I'm for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Well, the scary thing is, and I'm not focusing on any one person in particular, but the scary thing is that there are people now who are laying the groundwork for serious problems after November 5th. They do know who they are, and many of them listen to this program, and many of them actually call this program, and they're looking forward to a world of chaos, mayhem, and serious trouble after November 5th if things don't go their way.
Well, I'll tell you what. You know where they can go, Bob? They can go just with the other 1,200 people that they're still arresting and they're still looking for. You want to get in there with those Proud Boys, want to be in jail with them, with them paper shoes, you go right ahead. If you want to risk your life, if you want to risk your family, your job, everything, and you want to go follow this man, this rapist, this convict, you go right ahead. Bob, I said this before when Rush Limbaugh was on. If Rush Limbaugh comes on and says the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, and you believe it, that's your fault. That's the same thing I'll tell them. You want this bloodshed or all this kind of stuff? Oh, a civil war. You go right ahead. Because we got people, we got jails. We'll send you there in a second.
Do you think the federal authorities are prepared for what some people are planning to do if their candidate doesn't win?
Bob, I bet you our FBI, between our FBI and ICA, they got plants in all these extremist groups. I guarantee you. They've gone through these guys already. They know who it is. And they'll get them. They'll get them.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see, because I have to say, I'm not so concerned about what happens between now and the first Tuesday in November. I'm concerned about what happens in the 2 months after the election.
Well, I'll tell you, when you watch on TV or you watch on like YouTube with these guys, when they go, oh, they're crying. Oh, they're blaming Trump. Oh, it's his fault. You know, he told us this. Oh, really? Okay. Well,
you think they're planning on any new costumes or characters or gimmicks this time?
Who's this now? With
the people in costumes. I mean, that one guy in particular. I can't remember. He was like the Grand Poobah or whatever. I don't. The exalted protester. I don't remember what he called himself, but he had some kind of Halloween costume that we saw him with his performance art at the Capitol.
Well, that I don't know, but you know, Bob, you know something fun? Are you a Twilight Zone fan?
Yes.
Okay. We were talking. Me and my friends were talking this weekend, and I said, "Guys, you know what Donald Trump reminds me of? You remember that episode? It was I had to look it up too. It was called Hocus Pocus and Frisbee. Remember that was the old general store and the big guy in the overalls, and he would just tell all these big long lies. You know, you'd come in with a car. Oh, you know, I made that car. Yep, I was the first. And what happened is, I don't know if you remember, he was captured by these aliens because they believed everything he said. And what they were going to do is take him away to their planet and put him on display. But look, this is what this planet does. This man knows everything. Well, he got scared and stuff like that, and he used a harmonica, and it hurt their ears, and so that's how he escaped. But when he went back to the general store, they did a surprise party for him. They gave him the award, the biggest liar of the year, of all time. They gave him this award, and he started talking about this stuff, but they didn't believe him. They thought it was more of this gibberish, these lies, and everything. And it was, Frisbee. And I think that's what's happening with Donald Trump. If you watch, these lies are catching up to him, and they're going to pass him. I don't know if you saw the program the other day where they were interviewing him about Kamala Harris's size of her audience, and all the people that were coming there to see her crowds. And this is what he said. He goes, well, I don't know about that, but I know our crowds are. He just denied it. Just walked away from what he said. And that's what he keeps doing. But that's him.
Well, you know, he's entitled. He's entitled to his opinion, but I don't know. I'm really, really concerned about what he seems to be trying to set up. Hopefully, those concerns are unfounded. Thank you. It's 11:49 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Carrie, and I'm calling from Owego.
Hi. What's up?
I am calling about the immigrants, the illegal immigrants that we have coming in. Just a thought, we're giving them driver's license with no questions asked, and these people are able to apply for benefits, and they're living off the system.
Well, maybe they should take steps to double check before they approve benefits. As far as driver licenses, I think it's great if you're in the country illegally, then you get into the system, and then they've got your number. And that way, with all these license plate readers, That way, if they do anything bad, they'll pretty much know exactly where you are, thanks to all the flock safety plate readers. So I'm not against them having driver licenses. I'd rather have people who are in the United States illegally have a New York State issued driver license with their photo in the state's data bank and all their personal information. And that way, if they do anything truly heinous, then the authorities can come and get them.
Just like they did in Endicott.
Hey, they got them. They got them. You know, it is, as you heard Endicott Police Chief Patrick Gary said, apparently it took several weeks after he had been staying on East Franklin Street in Endicott, but apparently they got him in front of the Burlington store at the Town Square Mall.
It's scary.
No, it is scary. So I said to Chief Gary, what if he was walking out here on Court Street, and I thought it would be clever to interview him? What if he didn't think it was nice for a reporter to ask him some questions?
I don't know. I just don't think they should be on our benefits. I don't think.
Well, no, they shouldn't. But again, as far as driver licenses, I'm sick and tired of people driving around, whether it's on Court Street or Route 17 in the town of Nichols, driving around with no license. Get a license.
Right.
Why are you against illegal people getting driver licenses?
Because it opens up the door for them to get freebies.
Yeah, but at least then they're in the system. That helps law enforcement find them. Once you're in the system, even if you're from Peru, my guess is if the guy from Peru had gotten a New York driver license, they might have caught him sooner.
Not so, but thanks.
All right. Hey, I'm just here. I'm supporting justice in the American way. You've got so many people, including people who were born in this country, driving around without a license. That's another thing. Think about it. How many people on Route 17 or Interstate 86 in Tioga County right now, what do you think the percentage is? People driving around without a license, including native-born Americans, people who were born in Binghamton and even Johnson City. It's not a driver license that gets you in trouble. A driver license helps the authorities track you down. That's what they use. That's why the plate readers are great. Have all illegal immigrants get a New York driver license and register a car. That's how. Oh, and register your cell phone number, too. That way, they can be taken into custody expeditiously. No fuss, no muss. Hi, WNBF, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Rich from the beautiful town of Tioga.
Yeah, what's up?
Just a reminder, Bob. As ye sow, so shall ye reap. The immigrants coming, they're here now. They're here now. When you have a guy with 24 murders suspected from Perugia in this country, we are becoming the third world country we deserve.
This is not a third world country. This country serves as an inspiration to everybody else on the planet.
Bob, go to Haiti. Go to a Caribbean country. Go to a middle Central American country and see people living in metal shacks and crates.
Yeah, and I can find people in Broome and Tioga counties who are living in similar deplorable conditions. And it didn't just happen since Joe Biden became president. There have been people living in deplorable conditions and squalor probably within 5 miles of where you are, maybe within 2 miles of where you are. So because there are some people living in desperate conditions doesn't make this a third world country. This is the best country.
Not for long, Bob.
Yes, for long, forever. This is America. Tired of people talking down America. This is the USA. Let's work to make it better. It's already great. Let's make it even better. Hi, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
DJ from Binghamton. Bob, that's horrible. People call up and say stuff like that.
Did you hear what he said? He said we're becoming a third world country. Come on, man. This country will never even be a second world country. We serve as the inspiration for 8 billion people on the planet.
What he said is called demonic. Let me tell you this, though.
Well, I wouldn't say it's demonic, but I would say it was inaccurate. Hey, DJ, I got to wrap it up. The time is running out. I just hope you have a good weekend.
When people talk about they're talking about the immigrants getting free everything, not anything else.
Okay, I get it. They still should get driver licenses. I want to track them. I'm sure the cops want to know who they are when they're getting pulled over. That's why they need to get a license. I'm Bob Joseph. That's my opinion on WNBF.